How is everyone doing today? And welcome back to another transfer update on the ball. And I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that has given us overwhelming support for the brand new channel. We're already up to our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers. So big up to everyone. And I'm loving the support. So what are you thinking about the support?
Yeah, I'm loving it, mate. This has been overwhelming, the amount of people who've come over to the new channel and shown love for the new content as well. I'm loving making this new content, so I'm looking forward to seeing this channel go from strength to strength.
Absolutely. So if you are new around here, go and smash that subscribe button and hit that notification bell as well, because we will be bringing you daily content for football around Europe. But we do have quite a lot to get through today, and that is starting off with Jordan Henderson's monstrous move over to Saudi Arabia, as David Ornstein is reporting that Jordan Henderson's transfer to Al-Ittihad. Jordan Henderson is reportedly leaning towards accepting a lucrative offer from the Saudi side, which could quadruple his current wages. This would put him under the management of Steven Gerrard. The source of this news is David Ornstein, like I mentioned, and also reported by Fabrizio Romano that Liverpool are demanding a £10 million fee from Saudi club Al-Ittihad for Jordan Henderson. And yeah, it looks like this one is gathering pace. I mean, the amount of money this guy is going to be on is literally disgusting. But you know what? At his stage of his career, with Liverpool refreshing the midfield, for him, it makes complete sense to go over there and earn this kind of money, because he ain't going to be earning that money anywhere, anytime soon, ever again. So I think it's a good move in terms for all parties, really. But I just think the amount of wages he's going to be earning, I mean, is there anyone in world football that's earning a similar amount to him?
You can't put a price on passion. That's what I'm saying. And I'm guessing, look, when it comes to like this move, it's very curious. Like, because yesterday at the beginning of the day, we heard Jordan Henderson isn't interested in a move to Saudi Arabia. He's set to reject one, and all of a sudden, rumours started circulating. They've offered nearly 700 grand a week, and all of a sudden his mind has changed. I wonder why. Yeah. It must be peculiar. It's astronomical. Doesn't even put it. Isn't the right word for how much that is for a player like Jordan Henderson, who clearly is on the decline. Maybe it's just someone who Steven Gerrard wanted in the dressing room to kind of like set the standards for the rest of the team, but it's an incredible amount of money. I can't quite believe that that even they've gone that high. Even if you told me they're offering 400 grand a week, I'd be like, that's crazy.
If they offer 200 grand a week,
he's on similar to that now.
I know, but you know, if he's leaving Liverpool, right, you're thinking like he's going to wind down his career. So usually when you're winding down your career, you don't really, you know, get pay parity or get more wages.
Yeah, I know, but when you're going to Saudi,
yeah, I get that.
You know, they're obviously going to offer, like, I would thought maybe double his wages. That would be like something that would be like an improvement. That would be something you consider. But to quadruple it is absolutely nuts. It's absolutely nuts. I guess another thing to consider, he was one of the kind of prominent leaders of like the Rainbow Laces campaign, and now he's moving to a country, you know, where being gay is illegal. So I think that he's getting a lot of criticism for that, probably rightly so. That's something he's gonna have to kind of take that on the chin if he moves there. But I guess 700 grand will make him sleep easier at night.
I guess money talks, doesn't it?
It is what it is. When you offer that kind of money, I'm guessing a lot of people will put their principles aside.
Yeah, if they offered you that kind of money to knock Tottenham on the head and go start a fan channel for Al-Ittihad FC, you taking it?
Well, 700 grand a week. I might have to do that. Yeah.
All right, let's move on and let's talk about another Liverpool player in Fabinho. And Al-Ittihad, another Saudi club, are set to make a £40 million bid for Liverpool's Fabinho. Saudi Arabian club are preparing the bid as we speak. The transfer is expected to progress rapidly. Liverpool is considering Romeo Lavia as a possible replacement for the Brazilian, and that has been reported by David Ornstein. So very credible news there.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Liverpool, I'm a Liverpool fan, it's got to be a bit concerning. You're losing a lot of leaders in that dressing room. If, let's say, Fabinho does go through, like, and you're replacing him with Lavia, that all of a sudden you have a midfield three. Milner's gone. Henderson looks like he's leaving. Fabinho also leaves. Like, where's kind of that kind of experience, or not even experience, but you need that kind of leadership in midfield. I think every top team has a really experienced leader usually in central midfield. You look at Rodri or Gundogan for City. You look at Partey and Xhaka for Arsenal. You look at Kroos and Modric for Real Madrid. I think all the very successful teams need that. And if Liverpool have serious ambitions of challenging for a league title next season, then I don't think replacing Fabinho with Lavia Lavia is the answer. Not to say that Lavia is not a good player, but if you have McAllister and Szoboszlai going to be starting in your midfield, you need someone who you can trust to anchor that midfield. And I guess I'm saying Lavia is a good player, but I don't think he's the answer to replace Fabinho in the short term if they have serious ambitions for challenging next season.
No, I do get what you're saying, and I think it definitely is a concern for Liverpool fans going into next season in terms of where that leadership in the midfield is going to come from. But I would say that, in other areas of the pitch, they do have leaders where all across the back line they have it with Virgil van Dijk, Andy Robertson to a certain extent, Alisson in goal. They've got seasoned veterans like Mo Salah up front as well. So there are kind of like leaders sprinkled around that dressing room as well. So I think like it is a concern, but I think it will be better for them in terms of maybe not straight away next season, but maybe for the seasons to come after that. I do think, it's a young midfield that definitely can grow with the team, and maybe leaders can pop up from that as well.
But Liverpool not under a bit of pressure to challenge for the title next season? Isn't that the expectation? I
would say yes, but I don't think Jurgen Klopp or this Liverpool team will be marked down too much if they don't challenge for the title next season because of just how good Man City are right now. And, this team has needed a refresh for a little bit. And once you refresh that team, it's very hard if you're going to go for young players willing to grow for the project to go straight in and go and challenge the title straight away.
Yeah, but I've said that they haven't. They've spent a season last season. They finished fifth. They had a really good end to the season with, Liverpool looking like the Liverpool of old near the end of the season. And especially given the fact they challenged for the title the year before, and the year before that they also had a very mixed season. I think I wouldn't say they need to win the title next season, but I do think there is a bit of pressure to definitely be in that conversation and be in the challenge. And
I still think they will be.
I don't know if they got a midfield three of McAllister, Lavia, and Szoboszlai. I do wonder whether that will get exposed a bit off the ball. I do have a bit of concern for that. I do think they need a proper anchor if they're going to be serious. And I don't know if Lavia is the answer. I think it's a lot of pressure to put on a 19-year-old kid to be the anchor of their midfield. And I don't know if he's up to it right yet to really come in and be a star for someone like Liverpool just right now. So there's a bit of a concern there. But obviously his deal's not done yet. I do expect if it's 40 million, maybe add an extra 10 million. Maybe Liverpool probably might accept it. But I'll be interested to see if Lavia is their only addition.
Yeah, I mean, look, as it stands, that's what David Ornstein is reporting, but we'll see how it goes. But I actually think a midfield three of Lavia, Szoboszlai and McAllister, has the ability to really explode at some point. Maybe not in the early parts, but once Jurgen Klopp really gets Lavia down and starts his tactical work on him, then I think this is a midfield and a force to be reckoned with. Maybe not next season, but the season after, that's for sure. Let's talk about Moises Caicedo now, as Chelsea negotiated Moises Caicedo transfer with Brighton. Chelsea's ongoing negotiations with Brighton for Caicedo are progressing, but the reported 70 million fee may not be sufficient for the deal. Both clubs are continuing discussions to find a solution. This information was reported by Fabrizio Romano. So, I mean, this is a deal that just literally hasn't stopped since before he signed that contract in last January, when him and Arsenal were going for him as well. I think this deal will get done at some point. 70 million, though. I think 70 million should be enough to get Caicedo. I really do.
Yeah, but they're using Rice as a benchmark, aren't they?
I know.
They're looking at the Rice and thinking, look, he went for 100 million. They're within their right to say that Caicedo probably had just as good a season last season as Declan Rice, so why can't he be as good? I think, obviously, Rice is a better player, in my opinion, but Caicedo is a bit younger, and actually he's got obviously a really good skill set, and Brighton are well within their right to believe he's as good as Rice, considering how both teams performed last season, so they're well within their right to demand a similar price. Chelsea, I can see them upping their bid, considering they had a whole host of sales this summer. And if you actually look in midfield, all of a sudden they've gone from a situation where they were chock-a-block full of players, and now they're actually very light. They only really have Enzo and Conor Gallagher as their options right now as central midfielders. Yeah. So, and Conor Gallagher's future is not even certain. So I do expect them to really push the bell out and get Caicedo through the door. So even though they might believe, look, 70 million should be enough, I could see them upping the bid and getting it through the door. And it'll be and Enzo and Caicedo together. Wow, that's sounds like a really good pivot.
Yeah, I completely agree. And look, this deal will get done. I'm pretty certain of it. It will get done. We've had, quotes from Caicedo coming out over the last 2-3 days saying how much of an honour it'll be for him to play for Chelsea. So once these kind of quotes start coming out from the player themselves, you know the deal's going to get done sooner rather than later, and it will probably be closer to a fee that Brighton want than the 70 million. Let's talk about Sadio Mané now. Now, this is an interesting one. Sadio Mané is no longer in Bayern Munich's plans. Munich have internally informed Mané that they will not be planning the season with him. The clubs aim to offload him primarily to reduce the wage bill, and this news comes from Georg Holzner. And look, they only just signed him, what was it, 2 years ago now?
No, last season was his first season.
Well, there you go. He's only been there one season. Yeah, maybe it wasn't the strongest season from him, but I still think he got a respectable number of goals, if I'm led to believe. Did
like
he get
12 in all competitions.
Yeah, so I mean, fairly respectable for someone past 30, but you would have expected more from him, let's be honest, in the German league after what he has shown at Liverpool. I don't know. I don't really get this one. Why is he not in their plans anymore?
It is a peculiar one. Obviously, they do have unbelievable talent in the wide areas anyway. They've got Sane, they've got Musiala who can play out wide. They've got Kingsley Coman as well. So they do have younger players right now than someone like Sadio Mané, who maybe fit how the way Tuchel wants to play a bit more. Mané is more of like a forward than he is maybe like a winger, maybe like the other players. Maybe Tuchel is looking for something else. Remains to be seen. He obviously, you would have thought he was going to go and absolutely smash the Bundesliga the way he was playing in the Premier League, but maybe he's in decline a bit potentially. Maybe he's not as good as he was, a few years ago. I think that's maybe part of the reason. And as well, I think there was obviously a lot of internal troubles with him and I think teammates. I think obviously he got banned from Bayern Munich last season after punching Leroy Sané after a game against Man City. So maybe those have been bubbling up, those things that are bubbling under the surface, maybe they've made the decision that even though he's a very good player, it's better off. He's probably on big wages as well. So maybe they're better off just getting rid of him at this point, seeing as he's 31 and trying to go for a younger player potentially in that position. I do think he's still got a lot to give. I even think last season, a lot of appearances, he played quite well. But when you have a player on big wages who's supposed to be the star of the team and then all of a sudden he's losing out to Coman and Sane, maybe he's starting to get a bit frustrated with the situation.
How do you see this one playing out? Do you see another top team in Europe putting down the money for him in terms of the wages, or do you see maybe him going out to like Saudi?
Well, they're saying that they're willing to. Well, there are reports that they're willing to take quite a cut price deal, like 20 million euros, which would definitely be a deal that should interest a lot of Premier League teams or European teams, in my opinion, because I think that's, for what you're getting, I think that's quite a cheap deal, even though he maybe isn't as good as he was a couple of years ago. But I do think he's probably going to end up going to Saudi. The wages they're offering, they'll probably see him as another big name that they can entice. I'm sure. I reckon he might be happy to go there as well. He's won everything you can, I think, in Europe. He's won Premier Leagues, he's won Champions League, so he's won it. There's not much more to achieve for him. So I think Saudi is probably the most likely destination, I would say. Yeah,
I agree. Next up, we've got a confirmed deal, signed, sealed and delivered, and a major coup for Aston Villa, which is Pau Torres, which was officially confirmed by Fabrizio Romano. Pau Torres joins Aston Villa on a permanent deal from Villarreal, 32.5 million euros plus 5 million in add-on as well, and that is signed, sealed and delivered. And when you look at Pau Torres, he's been linked with a lot of big clubs over the last couple of years. He had a really good run in the Champions League when Villarreal went really far a couple of years back. I thought he was going to get a bigger move than this to Aston Villa. So you've got to give credit to Aston Villa for pulling this one off.
Yeah, and I think maybe a lot of it is from the Paul Unai Emery signing a former player. He knows Pau Torres and Pau knows him. So I do think maybe that's definitely played an element, and then getting into European football for next season. But I do think it's a massive coup, and I think it's really going to help level up their defence in terms of like having that ball playing ability coming from the back. It's going to be interesting to see what it means for Tyrone Mings now that Pau Torres has signed for big money. Does that mean he's going to be out the door, or is he going to be on the bench? He's obviously been a big player for Aston Villa, so that's going to be interesting side plot to what's happening here. But I think it is a great signing, and it shows some of the ambition that Aston Villa is showing. There's talks of them making bids for people like Moussa Diaby and stuff. Obviously nothing's advanced there yet, but it seems that there is a project there. They're definitely showing ambition. Emery is a very, very good manager, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have a really good crack at that Conference League next season. because he's such a good manager in Europe. We know that he's going to prioritise that competition as well to try and get a trophy. So even if I can imagine a situation where even if Villa aren't maybe in the top 6 or in the league, that they can still go really far in that Conference League, and a bit like West Ham this season. So I think it's a really great signing. The only question mark is how adaptable is he for the Premier League? Physicality, is he going to be able to live with big physical strikers and a more physical football than it is in Spain? But I do believe footballing wise, like in terms of how he uses the ball, he's a level up from Tyrone Mings.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he will knuckle down the Premier League. I mean, we spoke about it many a time on We Are Tottenham TV about coming to Spurs. We always had a few reservations about him potentially being that guy that we wanted on the left-hand side. But I think Aston Villa is a very, very good move for him. And in terms of what you're saying for the Conference League, I'm actually backing them to win it next season. I think they're going to make a real big fist of it. And, top 10 next season and a Conference League win, maybe with another cup run as well. You'd say that's an absolutely sensational season. When you look back to last season when Steven Gerrard was there, you were thinking, wow, they're, who knows where they're going to end up next season, maybe even an outside of a chance of being relegated or something like that. But since Unai Emery has come in, it seems as though they've got a real vision at that football club, and that you got to commend it. Let's talk about Rasmus Højlund now. Now, this is another interesting one coming out of Laurie Whithill, saying that Manchester United's bid for Rasmus Højlund has been a player in exchange plus a cash payment, but the club Atalanta only do want a cash payment, and the Italian club has valued the striker at 85.5 million.
Look, I think that it's interesting. I'll be interested to see or to know who the players are that they're offering for Atalanta. Is it someone like Martial? Is it someone like Elanga, who we'll talk about maybe in a bit? It's going to be interesting to see who the players are. 85 million is an unbelievable amount of money for a player who's only had one season at the top level. For sure, that's way too much. I said I would like to take him as far as I wouldn't pay 85 million for him. I was assuming the deal would be close to something like 50, but 85 it's mad in modern day football. You have one season where you score 9 goals in Serie A. Not to say that it's not impressive for a 20-year-old to do that, but that shoots your value to 85 million all of a sudden. It's absolutely bonkers that's the state of play in football. I think Man United would be mad to go that high. I don't think they'll be mad to pursue this deal, because I do think this guy is going to be a real star for the future, and I think he's, even right now, he's shown he can play at the top level. But 85 million is absolutely bonkers price.
It's nuts. I mean, this guy is like, he's hardly proved anything just yet. I know, like, last season he did have a little bit of a breakout year, but it wasn't like a really over-the-top breakout year where he's scoring like double figures in goals, or like he just about scored double. I think 9 actually. So
9,
but he didn't even get double figures. Like, you've got someone like Balogun of Arsenal who's come in and had a breakout year, scored in the 20s in France. You know what I mean? And he's only looking at getting a transfer for like 40, 50 million. Højlund, I actually really believe in Højlund's talents, and when I've seen him play, I'm very impressed. And, he's burst onto the international stage as well, 6 goals in 6 games. But to command an 85 million fee is just preposterous right now, and I completely agree with you. I think 50 million is probably the max anyone should pay right now. But you got to look at it from his club's point of view as well. It's like, why would they should just not go into any sort of transfer agreements unless another team overpays. So, I mean, that's the way they're looking at it. So I can completely understand it.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting because United in a bit of a sticky situation with the ownership. They don't really know what's going on right now in terms of the takeover. So they don't know if they can push the belt out for him, or they're going to have to be on a strict budget right now. They did get Mount, but they seem to be in a bit of limbo. But they do need a striker. I do think he would be a good fit for them, but I think 85 million is crazy.
Yeah. All right, let's move on and let's talk about André Onana, the goalkeeper for Inter Milan. And in pursuit of André Onana, Inter's sporting director Pierre Ozilio has travelled to London in a bid to expedite the transfer of André Onana to Manchester United. The deal could be concluded within the next few hours, according to Calcio Mercato. And look, we all know David De Gea is not carrying on at Manchester United, and this is going to be a great signing for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they're talking about, as we were putting this video together, there's been a £47 million bid, according to Manchester Evening News, for Onana, which they're hoping should be enough to get it through the door. I think he's, in terms of what, obviously I think he managed him at Ajax, didn't he?
Yeah.
Ten Hag, so he knows him very well. I actually had a lot of doubts about him when he was at Ajax, because he was a really good keeper with his feet, but I thought his actual goalkeeping ability was definitely questionable. But I think he's really tightened that up since he's gone to Inter Milan.
I think we saw that firsthand in the semi-final of the Champions League.
He wasn't particularly good, was he? Like, he was making a few mistakes. I think coming for crosses as well, I don't think he's particularly strong, but I think he's really become an all-round better goalkeeper at Inter Milan. I think he had the best save percentage in Serie A last season. That goes to show how much better he's getting. I still think he's got some mistakes in him, but I think he's still relatively young for a goalkeeper. I think he's getting better and better each year, and I think going to a manager who knows him well, who trusts him, is only going to benefit him. And I think the way he is well, I think he's going to come in and be right up there with the best ball-playing goalkeepers in the league in terms of how good he is at that. I don't think he's at the level of goalkeeping with Alisson in terms of how good he is overall. I still think he's quite questionable when it comes from coming across his set pieces and things like that. He might take time to adjust to the Premier League, in my opinion. But I do think when it comes to what Man United want from a ball-playing goalkeeper, there's not too many better out there available right now.
Would you prefer to spend that price on Onana, 50 million on Onana, or would you spend the 40 million on David Raya?
I think Onana is probably better right now, to be honest. Raya's probably more... I think Raya is more physical. He's better at coming for crosses, so he's probably right now more adjusted to the Premier League, and you might be going for a bit less. But I do think in general, Onana is a better goalkeeper. If Onana can adjust to the Premier League as well as Raya currently is playing in the Premier League, he'll be better goalkeeper. And I think Onana's better with his feet. I think he's a better shot stopper. The only question mark is his physicality, which Raya is better at right now. But I think the counterbalance, I think Onana just about outweighs Raya.
All right, let's talk about Alex Scott now. Bristol City rejected a 15 million bid for Alex Scott from Bournemouth. And apparently Bournemouth will come back in for another bid, but Scott is valued at 25 million from Bristol City, and that is from Deadline Day Live on Twitter. I mean, 25 million for someone like Alex Scott, I think is a really good deal to do. And I kind of feel like Spurs might be the ones to get this over the line at some point. I was saying this yesterday, that it might be a case of Bournemouth doing all the kind of legwork at the moment, doing all the negotiations, and then when Spurs realise that they're going to get priced out the Conor Gallagher move, they might push the button on an Alex Scott.
Yeah, he's obviously a player from the Championship who's had a brilliant season for Bristol. He's one who I think is ready probably to make that step up to Premier League football, albeit he's still relatively young, but I think he believes he's ready for the Premier League. 25 million is not insignificant considering some of the other deals like that can be had for that kind of money. You know, we kind of paid 30 million, near 30 million for like Madison, but it's obviously
plus
a different
wings,
situation. Yeah, it was 40 million plus wings, which is basically 30 million. So values obviously get a bit distorted, but I wonder if Tottenham are waiting for like Højbjerg sale before anything happens there. Obviously, that's going to be protracted, so depends what happens there. And by the time Højbjerg gets sold, maybe Scott might already be gone. So it's definitely a balancing act. But it looks like a lot of Premier League teams are circling around him. That one was Bournemouth. Wolves have been definitely credited with strong interest as well. West Ham. So I think if Tottenham really do want him, they have to be quick. So it seems as though other teams are circulating very quickly. So I think it's actually I reckon it's one Tottenham are going to miss out on.
Well, we'll have to see how that one rumbles on, but the report does say that Bournemouth are currently leading the race for Alex Scott. Next up, let's talk about Loïs Openda, a player that I love. I think he's been sensational last year for Lens, and the report says that Openda will be the most expensive signing in RB Leipzig history. 38 million euros guaranteed fee to RC Lens plus add-ons. Contract valued until June 2028 in a 5-year deal. Medical tests already booked in the next few days. A record signing and a top deal, and that is a here we go from Fabrizio Romano. So I think that's a great move for Openda to go to RB Leipzig.
Yeah, it's classic Leipzig with their amazing scouting system. They rarely ever have any misses, do they? And I think he was obviously sensational for Lens last season, getting over 20 goals. They're clearly using the Szoboszlai money very, very smartly. He's a striker who I think would be perfect for how they want to play with their high pressing system. He's a real kind of ruthless striker in front of goal. Got a lot of pace, good first touch. I wouldn't say he's an amazing all-round striker. He's definitely more of a goal-getter, but I do think he's going to absolutely bag loads of goals in the Bundesliga next season. And Leipzig, they know what they're doing when it comes to scouting. So when if they're going to break their transfer record for him, you know that he's going to be a good player for them. And
this team Lens, they finally make it back into the Champions League. And now they're getting stripped. Sekou Fofana's gone out to Saudi. Now Loïs Openda. So their two best players ultimately are leaving them. So you got to fear for them, I guess.
It's a shame. It always happens in Liga whenever a team like that surprisingly get to the Champions League. They're always I remember the Monaco team, they got to the semi-final. Their team got absolutely stripped. I remember Lille did really well one year, and then their team got absolutely stripped. It just happens every year. I think it's the nature of the beast over at Liga. They're probably used to it by now.
Yeah, I guess. But you wouldn't have thought they would be losing their best players to Saudi. I mean, Sekou Fofana, to go at that age, at what he showed over the last couple of seasons, I mean, he should be playing at one of the best teams in Europe.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what's happening at the moment. Saudis are just absolutely blowing everyone out of the water with the money they're offering.
Let's move on and let's talk about Anthony Elanga of Manchester United. Everton in talks with Manchester United for Elanga. Everton Football Club is currently in negotiations with Manchester United over a potential signing of Elanga. More details on this development are yet to be disclosed, and the source for this information is the Everton ITKL bubble.
Well, it's funny you say yet to be disclosed, because as we were doing this video, BBC reported that apparently Elanga, Everton are now bid between 15 and 20 million for Anthony Elanga.
Well, I think that's a fair price.
I think it's a fair price, but I don't know. He didn't have a great season last season. He broke onto the scene 2 seasons ago and did really well, in a few appearances. Last season, I wasn't too impressed with him. Didn't really get a look in for Man United. And I feel like Everton really learning their lessons with this signing. They let go of Andros Townsend, on a free. They still got people like Demarai Gray on the books, like Dwight McNeil, wingers who don't really contribute too much when it comes to goals and assists. And now they're signing another player who, yes, he's young, but is he the kind of player I think they should be going for more under the radar players from around Europe for cheaper prices, in my opinion. Do better scouting than just signing a Man United youngster who hasn't had the best season last season. Albeit I do believe he could be a decent player, but again, it's a player who's out of form right now. I don't know. And as well, we'll talk about the signing they're making after, but I just worry they're not learning their lessons.
I think Elanga is a good player. He's a young player as well, up and coming. Well, I don't know if you can call him up and coming anymore, but it's a much different kettle of fish playing at Manchester United and playing at Everton. And I think he's got more than enough quality to do really well at Everton next season. And, they're going to save themselves a relegation, potentially finish mid-table if they're lucky. And I think Elanga is that kind of level of a player. So as much as I don't think it's the same kind of signing as they have done in the past with the Demarai Grays and the Andros Townsend. I actually think he's a better caliber than that. Next up, though, this one falls into what you were saying before, though. And Ashley Young has signed for Everton on a free transfer from Aston Villa. How old is he now?
38.
38. I mean, it's a classic Sean Dyche signing, not going to lie. Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, as much as Elanga didn't impress last season, I really don't think Ashley Young impressed at all last season for Aston Villa.
I actually don't think he was too bad for Villa, but I don't understand the logic of this signing. You're trying to refresh the club and set the club on a new path. You've been signing so many old players, rejects from other teams. That's why you're in the situation that you're in, and you're still doing the same thing. I guess the argument could be he offers experience. Maybe he'll set the standards for the dressing room, all that kind of stuff. And that does have a value. But at the end of the day, Everton need a real refresh in terms of their approach to signings, who they're bringing in. They need a smarter approach. They need smarter scouting. And for me, people like Young and Elanga, I don't know if it represents that, especially Young, who's 38. He's going to be gone probably within a year. He's only signed a 1-year contract. I guess if your focus is just, again, avoiding relegation, I can understand it. But surely a club like Everton have ambitions beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, when they've been so close to relegation the last 2 years, it's hard maybe to have ambitions beyond that unless they start to put in serious money in the transfer kitty. And obviously we know they've had problems with FFP in the past and they're not run very well. They're building a stadium at the moment as well, which obviously ain't going to help things. So, I mean, I guess the way they're looking at the Ashley Young signing is probably just to get a bit of experience, coach these kind of players through it. And they need to get past this period. They need to get that stadium built and they need to get money within their transfer kitty and be able to spend money. So I guess they're in a bit of a predicament at the moment.
Yeah, I hear that.
So anyway, that is your transfer update for today on The Ball. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Like I said before, if you are new around here, go and smash that subscribe button. Thank you everyone for joining us today and we'll see you soon.